Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and these are my 2019 final Oscar predictions. This is the annual video in which I give my picks on both who I think should win each and every of the 24 categories, as well as who I think is going to ultimately take home the prize. And I have to say, this is a wide open year. I have been flip-flopping back and forth, really struggling on so many of these categories. This could potentially be like my worst ever predicting year to date. That also makes it kind of fun and a little bit scary with some of these nominees. But let's go ahead and kick things off and start the predictions. Best Visual Effects is always a little bit iffy of an award to predict, just because there aren't as many precursors to go back and look back on. For this category, I'm actually really pleased with all of the nominees, including like Surprise Christopher Robin or Ready Player One, even Solo, a Star Wars story, I think has great visuals. However, the one that I think definitely should win is Avengers Infinity War. The visuals are stunning, they're fantastic, definitely deserving of the award. And my final prediction is that Avengers Infinity War will take home the gold. For sound mixing, this is quite the tough category right off the bat. Sound mixing is the final product, like what you hear, volume levels, all that fun jazz. It's been a tried and true formula, though not all that consistent in recent years, honestly. But musicals have a heavy advantage in the sound mixing category. Thus, that leads me to look at Bohemian Rhapsody and A Star is Born to be our two frontrunners, if you will. And my pick on who should win is A Star is Born. I think the sound is done very well in that film. However, I think who will win is Bohemian Rhapsody. It has the BAFTA Award for Best Sound. It won at the Cinema Audio Society Awards recently, and I think it's on a roll, and it's going to end up winning the category. Then we move on to the other sound category, sound editing. Now this is creating the sound, like coming up with certain noises that will replicate whatever it is you're trying to come up with. But for me, it's a pretty easy should win for First Man. I just think that the actual sound effects in that film are so impressive. Honestly, I was on the verge of giving First Man sound mixing as well, because I think it does the mixing portion of sound amazingly well too. Definitely deserves to take home one, if not both, of these sound awards. So it's my pick for who should win this category. Now when it comes down to who will win, I think First Man is in contention with A Quiet Place and Bohemian Rhapsody again. Places such as the BAFTAs only give out a sound award, and then the Audio Society also only give out a sound mixing for film. So it's really hard to differentiate there, and seems likely that the full sound branch might just vote for Bohemian Rhapsody and give it both awards. But I'm gonna stick with First Man here. I think they'll give it something on the show, and I think sound editing will be the award it receives. Next up, we're going to talk about some short films, and I'm going to give slight reviews because I just watched the showcases and saw all 10 live action and animated short films. Not documentary, sorry. Live action short films. We have Detainment, which was absolutely harrowing. And actually, 4 out of the 5 nominees in this category were about like really tragic stories involving children, young boys in particular, actually. And it was a tough watch to sit through all 5 of them. We had a slight reprieve, but whew. And Detainment was later in the program they had set up for the viewing. And oh my gosh, this is a true story about two 10-year-olds who became the youngest ever convicted murderers in the 90s, and it was just tragic to watch. I was devastated. Then we have Foul, which was about a young boy sinking in quicksand and his friend not being able to save him. Boy, like 10, maybe 11 years old. But there was this beautiful moment at the end with this symbolism, with this fox that was stunning. We get a reprieve with Marguerite, which is a film about an elderly woman who kind of comes to terms with a missed opportunity and a same-sexual attraction that she had in her youth through her nurse. It was a very lovely, touching story. I didn't love the way Marguerite actually ended. It ended a little bit strange for me personally, but still a very touching story overall. Mother, or Madre, was this thriller about a mom talking to her 6-year-old who was left by his dad on the beach and trying to save him while he's alone on the beach. And it was just this really heart-pounding way to get us started. A little bit sad because we don't get the full narrative in this case, but still effective. And then finally we have Skin, which was kind of a surreal, really intense look at race relations in the United States and how they are passed on intergenerationally. It really went dark. By the end, we went dark, and it was a full transformation from this kind of light, effervescent look to the end that went very extreme and very harrowing. So I think all 5 of these were really fantastic nominees and clearly very deserving. These were some skilled filmmakers who made these short films, and honestly, I'm at a loss to pick either who I think should win or who I think will win, because I think all 5 were really that good. Ultimately, I decided to choose Detainment for my selection on who should win. It was just really a roller coaster, insane true story kind of ride that just like ripped my heart from my chest. It was so impactful and intense. And when it comes to who I think will win, I'm gonna go with Fauve. I think that symbolism, that full circle of this harrowing tale might just push it over the edge, but honestly, I think it's anyone's game. And then we look at Best Animated Short Film. Animal Behavior was this really funny view at therapy, at overcoming your issues as seen through animals and their innate behavior. I didn't love that we had such a detailed, kind of weird focus on butts in this animation, personally, but I thought it was really funny, the interactions with the animals. Bao from Pixar, we all saw it before The Incredibles 2, is this really beautiful story about empty nest syndrome, basically, and letting go and accepting and loving your children. The first ever animated short from Pixar directed by a female, really stunning. Late Afternoon deals with dementia and this really beautiful type of watercolor aesthetic. This woman's journey of coming back around to kind of remembering who her daughter was. One Small Step I thought was absolutely stunning in the animation department. It was this really beautiful kind of hybrid we have seen from Disney and Pixar before of clearly CGI animation, but with this very nice kind of flat 2D animated style overlaid about this girl and her trying to accomplish her dream of becoming an astronaut. It was a really beautiful little film. And then we have Weekends, which is the most depressing of the bunch, about this kid kind of coming to terms with his parents getting a divorce and what that looks like in his world, how he is comprehending these things, how he's able to really process them as a child. I think the animation was really inventive and really beautiful to look at. When it comes to, I think, should win, it's definitely between Bao and One Small Step for me personally. They both are just so beautifully animated, which I know is kind of a cop-out because you have Pixar versus independent people who don't have the Pixar resources. But these two really just look so stunning, and I thought the stories on both of them were so well done. Ultimately, I will go with Bao on who should win, because not only is the animation heads and tails above the rest, but it displayed a very nuanced, very deep thought and emotion without, this heavy dialogue, through a very inventive, beautiful metaphor. When it comes to, I think, will win, we again have Bao, but this time I think it's Weekends who's the competitor. Weekends actually won the Annie Award for Best Short Animated Film. And I think it's that personal subject matter that really is keeping this competitive. And when you look back, Pixar doesn't have a great track record in the animated short category. They have a wonderful track record in animated feature, but this category, they don't win. And I think this may be upset time, but I'm going to play it safe. I will stick with Bao winning. It's the first time a female's directed one of these Pixar shorts. She is a biracial female of color as well, and it's a beautiful story with a beautiful metaphor. So I think ultimately all the pieces are there for it to win. Whether it pulls it off, I don't know, but that's going to be my final prediction. Next up, let's look at the music, starting off with Best Original Song. I'm a little bit shocked even after watching The Ballad of Buster Scruggs because the song is fun and funny. I just think maybe there were stronger songs from film this past year personally, but that's kind of the first one I write out for my Who Should Win. All Fight, getting a documentary in here is great, but that's my next one to write out from RBG. And then we have the other three where I think they're all really fantastic. But ultimately, who I think should win this category is the film that will win this category, and that is Shallow from A Star is Born. This is the number one lock on your ballots, people. Go ahead and write this one in pen because this is it. This is the closest thing you have to an absolute come Oscar night right here. And then we have Best Original Score. Now this is far from a lock like original song is. We have some great scores in here, but our most winningest score from First Man is not present. So that makes predicting Best Original Score a whole lot more difficult. For me personally, I think Isle of Dogs is the weakest score of the bunch. And if I was picking my own personally, it would be between If Beale Street Could Talk and Black Klansman, probably. I think they have the two best scores. I'm going to say, for my should win pick, If Beale Street Could Talk. I didn't love the movie like many did, and wasn't all that sad to see it not get as much love. But I do think that that original score was simply stunning. Just a beautiful, moving through piece of music. As for who will win, that's where it gets a little bit more dodgy. I don't think Mary Poppins Returns or Isle of Dogs have really any chance to win. I also don't think Black Klansman has much of a chance to win. This is a very neck-and-neck race, in my mind, between Black Panther and If Beale Street Could Talk. And again, with the statistical frontrunner out of the way, it's really difficult. But I'm going to stick with If Beale Street Could Talk is going to win this award as well. It has won in previous shows, so maybe it holds that momentum, though the Academy didn't seem to like the film that much. Next up, we're moving to another lock, y'all, and that is Best Foreign Film. While Cold War pulled off a couple of big nominations that were shocking, I just don't know that it has the steam to pull this off. Unfortunately, it's up against Roma in each and every category it's in, and I think it's going to lose to Roma in each and every category it's in. But we'll save that for a little bit later. For the purpose of this, I've only seen Cold War and Roma, unfortunately, so my pick for who should win is Roma. I do think it is a better film. And for who I think will win, also Roma. With Cold War having an outside chance of pulling an upset, I still think Roma, with all of its wins, has this virtually in the bag. For makeup and hairstyling, I still do not understand why we only have 3 nominees for this category. There is so much amazing hair and makeup done in films. Academy, give 5 nominee slots for this category. I also kind of wish they were separated, because I have different winners for hairstyling and for makeup. If this was just hairstyling, I'd say Mary Queen of Scots has this in the bag, because the hair done in that film was work of art level stuff. However, I can't deny the makeup work that was done in Vice, and that's why I think Vice should win this award. The prosthetic and makeup work on not only Christian Bale as Dick Cheney, but really our entire cast was simply phenomenal. And I also think Vice will win this award come Oscar night. Best production design is one that I'm flip-flopping a lot on. While I think Roma is beautiful, I don't think it's really a contender here. Mary Poppins Returns has wonderful sets as well, but I don't know that it could compete. So when it comes to my personal pick, it's definitely between First Man, Black Panther, and The Favorite, and honestly, it's really between The Favorite and Black Panther. Those productions are just amazing. Those sets, the set work, the detail is just astounding. However, for my should-win pick, I'm going with Black Panther. I just think it has more settings. It had to create this world, whereas The Favorite is a period piece in which we've seen these types of things before. Then when it comes down to who will win, though, that's where it gets tricky. Because Black Panther's won the Critic Choice, but The Favorite has won the BAFTA. I'm really struggling. I'm going to end up saying Black Panther will win. It has won production design before, although the BAFTA is a big indicator. I'm going with Black Panther for production design, because I don't think it's winning anywhere else in the award show. It has one other possibility to win, I think, a very strong possibility, but I don't think it's going to win anywhere else, and it would be a shame to see it go this whole night with 0 victories, and it seems the Academy has a lot of love for the film, so I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to give Black Panther Best Production Design. And then we move on to Costume Design. Similar story, different category. For me personally, it's between Black Panther, The Favorite, and this time Mary Poppins Returns, because those costumes were beautiful. In particular, those hand-drawn animation-looking costumes were absolutely stunning. However, I really do think The Favorite had the best costumes from top to bottom. For who will win, again, Black Panther won the Critics' Choice. The Favorite won over at the BAFTAs. It's a tough choice. The costuming awards have not yet been handed out from their guild, so that makes it even more dicey, and I'm really up in the air. Black Panther maybe is more original, whereas we've seen these period pieces, but then again, I think The Favorite executes period piece a lot better than even Mary Queen of Scots that was nominated. So ultimately, I'm going to go with the BAFTAs. I'm going to say The Favorite will win. There's such a big overlay in voting bodies. It's going to win one, if not both, production and costume design. Next, let's move on to director. I know, it's early in the show for director, right? Well, that's because this is one of our locked up categories, if we're being honest. If I were voting just on kind of like personal preference, I would definitely give this to BlacKkKlansman. That's not really my who should win choice. It's just, I love Spike Lee. He's been so shunned in the industry. And I do think BlacKkKlansman is expertly directed and delivers just the right amount of venom and political charge without overdoing it. However, who realistically should win is Roma. There is no denying the directorial prowess in that film. So based on films themselves and no outside factors, Roma is my who should win. And Roma is taking this award home. Alfonso Cuarón is going to win Best Director. Now let's look at Best Documentary Short Films. I'm not giving a who should win, because out of all 24 categories, this is the one category I have seen 0 of the nominees. I'm sorry, y'all. And since I haven't seen them, it's really hard to predict as well. There's not a lot of literature out there about the documentary shorts. My pick for who will win is going to be Period, End of Sentence. Then we move on to Best Documentary Feature Film. I've only seen 2. I don't have Hulu, so I don't have access to Minding the Gap. But I have seen RBG and I have seen Free Solo. However, who I think should win is Free Solo. Of course, I love RBG. I thought it was a really beautiful love story on top of telling the story of this amazing woman. But it was much more standard in kind of a person documentary, whereas Free Solo was shot so beautifully, so innovative and visionary in its look. It felt truly cinematic, and honestly, I think probably should have been nominated for cinematography as well, because it was amazing. It also won the BAFTA, and that's enough in this case, because the winners of a lot of the other precursors aren't nominated this year in Won't You Be My Neighbor or Three Identical Strangers. So, who will win? Free Solo. Next up, cinematography is yet another lock. For me, this is easily who should win. Roma. I mean, this movie was pretty much made to win Best Cinematography. It is so perfectly shot. It is stunning. And the fact that Alfonso Cuarón is the cinematographer and the director and the writer. Amazing. This marks the third time Cold War is up against Roma. Also see Never Look Away, who is another foreign film, make it into cinematography. Let's have A Star is Born, which is good, but I think probably the weakest of the bunch. I haven't seen Never Look Away, so I can't say that definitively. But The Favorite also is beautifully shot. However, who will win? Roma, hands down. Write it in pen. Best Animated Feature Film, one of my always favorite categories. But this year, in seemingly a non-competitive category. No, it's not because Pixar's dominating. Who I think should win is simple. It is my number 2 favorite film of 2018, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Just honestly, in my opinion, should be nominated for Best Film. Just Best Picture, period. But so be it. It should definitely win this award. And we were all a little bit scared it might get the Lego treatment and get snubbed. But the Critics' Choice, the BAFTAs, the Annies, everywhere it's been winning and just sweeping in those awards. The Academy can't deny it. So my pick on who will win is also Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Okay, now we're going to get into 3 highly competitive categories that I'm not sure we're gonna predict correctly at all. Starting with film editing. Personally, I think most of these films are great when it comes to editing. My top 2 are definitely The Favorite and BlacKkKlansman. So my pick on who should win is going to be BlacKkKlansman. The cuts, the overlays, just the seamless editing of that film is sublime, in my opinion. However, when it comes to the editing category, I think that the safest bet for prediction time is the most flashy film in the bunch. Really puts editing front and center. So for that, my prediction for film editing, who will win, is Vice. It definitely has the showiest editing, the most upfront editing of the nominees. Thus, it's my prediction to take home the gold. Then we move to Best Original Screenplay, and oh my goodness, what a hot mess this has turned out to be. I waited for the Writers Guild to announce their winners, and they were no help at all. So for my pick on who should win this award, it's easily The Favorite. I think it has the wittiest, the sharpest, the tightest, cleanest screenplay of the bunch, and I think it definitely deserves to win this award. But when we look at how the award season is broken down, it's literally anyone's game. I think it's 20% across the board on your chances of winning in this writing category. So The Favorite did just win the BAFTAs, but the British just loved The Favorite almost universally. First Reformed took home the Critics' Choice Awards, and then Green Book took home the Golden Globe Award for just Best Screenplay. Presumably those are our top 3, but honestly, it's anyone's game. With the Writers Guild, they did give me a tad bit of clarification because 8th grade won, but it beat out several of these other nominees, including Green Book, who is presumably a frontrunner. And again, with the BAFTAs having so much overlay with the Oscar voting body, I think First Reform has a great chance to upset. My very uncertain pick on who will win is going to be The Favorite. And then we move on to Adapted Screenplay. Again, who do you pick in these categories? Because it's literally 20% across the board. Anyone could take this home and I wouldn't be all that shocked. So for my personal pick of who should win, it's really difficult between BlacKkKlansman and Can You Ever Forgive Me. I think both screenplays are perfect. I think they're both amazing. I'm going to let a little bit of personal bias cloud my judgment maybe, but I'm going to give this to BlacKkKlansman. I just think that the screenplay perfectly balances the venom, perfectly balances the social justice aspects with a more palatable full range approach. And I don't think Spike Lee is winning for director yet again. And I really want him to win his first Academy Award. So this is his chance. This is where he can really seize it, and I really hope he does. When it comes to who will take home the gold, we start with The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, which won the Critics' Choice Award. Then we move on over to BlacKkKlansman, who won the BAFTA Award. And then Can You Ever Forgive Me, who took home the Writers Guild. I'm tempted to say, Can You Ever Forgive Me? But I'm sticking with that formula of BAFTAs having the most overlay, and maybe there being some sense of it's his time for Spike Lee, that I'm going to say who will win is also BlacKkKlansman. Honestly, it's a shot in the dark. Now on to the biggest awards of the night, starting with Best Supporting Actor. Alright, after some ambiguity, we're back in at a locked up category. Now, who I think should win didn't get nominated for the award, and that's Timothée Chalamet, but we're not going to talk about that, are we? Out of the nominees, my very, very close behind second pick to Chalamet is Richard E. Grant. I think he is so flippin' good in Can You Ever Forgive Me? I would hand him this award right out the gate if it were up to me. So that's my should win. But we all already know. Who will win? Mahershala Ali. He has swept through award season, just snatching up that gold left, right, and center. This one is in the bag. Write it in pin, y'all. Ali's taking home supporting actor. Now when it comes to supporting actress, things get a little bit more strange, if you will. So for my pick on who should win, it's an easy pick. And I think that's Rachel Weisz from The Favorite. She's so good in such a talented cast. I really think she's the strongest of the bunch. However, when we get to who will win, things get a little bit wild. So Regina King was the early favorite. She took home so many Critics Awards, and then she took home the Golden Globe, she took home the Critics' Choice, but then she didn't even get nominated for the BAFTA, and more importantly, she didn't get nominated for the SAG Award. She did not even get in there for the Screen Actors Guild. And then we head over to the BAFTAs, where Regina King wasn't even a player, and Rachel Weisz won. She's also won some independent film awards earlier in the season. When it comes to the SAG Awards, they opted over Rachel Weisz to pick Emily Blunt, though. Where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? In a shambled mess, to be honest. Another pretty up in the air category. But ultimately, I think that the SAG choosing Emily Blunt really kind of put a shadow over Rachel Weisz, and I'm going to stick with Regina King ultimately winning the Best Supporting Actress award. Then we move to Actress in a Leading Role. My pick for should win is pretty close. For me, the top two performances here come from Olivia Colman and Melissa McCarthy. I think they both give such stunning, different performances, but they're really powerhouse performances. Ultimately, who I think should win is Olivia Colman. I just think she was a tour de force in The Favorite. She's so flippin' good, and really one of my top favorite performances, male or female, from 2018. She's amazing. And when it comes to who will win, the race is kind of tight. It's not a slam dunk. It's not a lock. So we're not writing anything in pen here, y'all. So the Golden Globes was when Glenn Close started her powerhouse run to this gold, surprising everyone and winning there. Then the Critics' Choice couldn't make up their mind, and they split between Lady Gaga and Glenn Close, which maybe showed a little bit of kink in her armor, but then she went on to win the SAG Award. Olivia Colman, though, is her closest competition, not Miss Gaga, with a Golden Globe and now the BAFTA to back her up, and she has a little bit of that late game momentum. However, she doesn't have Glenn Close's career as backup. At this point, I think it's pretty safe to say Glenn Close will win this award, but I wouldn't be shocked to see maybe a surprise upset. But really, it definitely is Glenn Close's award to lose. Then we move to actor in a leading role. All 5 of these nominees, I think, actually do a very good job in their roles. However, Bradley Cooper is my pick for who should win. This is the best I've ever seen Bradley Cooper, and I've seen Bradley Cooper do some pretty great roles. From the singing to the musicianship that he put on display. He actually sang in his role, he actually played instruments in his role. Yeah, that was a little bit of shade to another nominee. Just a little bit, just fun shade. But honestly, Bradley Cooper ran the gambit of emotions and depth here, and I unequivocally actually think he should win. But that's not going to happen. So who will win come awards night? Well, this looks like Glenn Close, a bit of a runaway train at this point. Christian Bale is definitely our close second place. He won the Critics' Choice. He won the Golden Globe. He gave some great acceptance speeches that might have pushed him a little bit and propelled him to get that speech said at the Academy. But let's be real, who's going to win this award is Rami Malek. He has the Golden Globe, he has the SAG, and now he has the BAFTA. I don't really see a way he's going to lose at this point. Even amidst all of the backlash and drama surrounding the film, the director, even his own remarks, Queen's remarks. The whole Bohemian Rhapsody situation is a bit of a mess right now. But that's not going to stop Malek from collecting that statue. And then we get to Best Picture. I don't know. This is a complete and total crapshoot for me. I have no idea who's taking home Best Picture at this point. For my pick on who should win, honestly, I had a hard time. So if you've watched my Best Picture ranking video, Black Panther was #1 for me personally. It's my favorite of the 8 nominees. However, I don't know that I would pick it to win the award. I'm really stuck between that, BlacKkKlansman, and The Favorite on which film I think deserves Best Picture accolades. Ultimately, my pick for who should win, narrowly edging out The Favorite, is BlacKkKlansman. It just is such an important film in a year that had so many important films that dealt with race. It did it so well. It did it in such a universally beautiful way. I think it was fantastic. Now for who will win. Whew. So let's eliminate some to start us off. Vice, I don't know why it's there. As you might have saw in my critics and audience rankings, it hasn't really won anything in here. It's the first out the door. Followed closely by A Star is Born. The love just has not come for that film anywhere in award season. And then I think we have to give Bohemian Rhapsody the boot. Yes, it won the Golden Globe, but I do think the controversy has sunk the ship overall. The Favorite has done well across award season, but even as the BAFTAs showered it with love, it couldn't win Best Film, so I think that knocks The Favorite right on out. BlacKkKlansman has also failed to really get any Best Film or Best Picture wins, although it's one of the few who has every kind of award nomination it needs. I don't think it gets there, so out it goes. That leaves us with the 3 most probable winners for the evening. First, we have Black Panther. It has the SAG win, which is huge because the actors make up the largest portion of the voting body in the Academy. Then we have Green Book, who swept through a ton of early, critical award shows. It just swept the early season, and then won big at the Golden Globes. And then we have Roma, who won the Critics' Choice, and then recently just won that BAFTA award. However, a foreign film has never won this award before. And Roma is a Netflix film. 2 things I think that are strongly hindering it when it comes to votes in Best Picture and what might sink it, honestly. But I do think it's between Roma and Green Book. I don't think Black Panther's quite there. I'm going to go with Roma as my final prediction for Best Picture. I will not be shocked even in the slightest if, in particular, the old branch, Spielberg, we're looking at you, pull so heavily for Green Book and rank it all as #1 and throw Roma down at last to get the win. I wouldn't be shocked if Green Book wins. I think in the preferential ballot it's going to do well. However, we were really shocked with supporting and lead actress both getting nominations, which shows a stronger support for the film Roma than maybe we had initially thought it would have. Plus, I'll go with conventional wisdom, the whole Valalonga situation on Twitter and that controversy. Although, unlike with Bohemian Rhapsody, he just kind of like removed himself from the situation, shut his mouth, deleted his Twitter, and has been like gone off the face of the planet. But we have that situation. It didn't get nominated for Best Director. In particular, I think, if Green Book does not win for Best Original Screenplay, the road to Best Picture looks bleak. And since I predicted that it loses Best Original Screenplay, I also predict it's going to in turn lose. And Roma will win Best Picture. So that's it. Those are my picks on who I think should win each award, as well as my final predictions for Sunday's Oscar celebration on who will win each of the 24 awards. Leave your own predictions in the comment section down below, and we'll compare next Sunday in my recap and review of the Oscars. So, if you liked this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on our latest videos. I love you all so much for your continuing support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!